Hey there, I'm BogdanBudaca and welcome to my channel. Thank you for joining me for another mind workout, and I do hope that you keep safe and you keep learning. So today I thought that we could go over another cool little problem. It requires us to implement a program that runs a runoff election. If you haven't seen the previous video where we implement a program that runs a plurality election, I will link that as well. This would be a bit more complex, but it shouldn't take us too long, and of course, whenever you feel that you can continue on your own, please pause the video and do so. So yeah, let's dig right in. So how a runoff election works, of course, you can read about that a bit more online. It's pretty interesting. I do have a use case ready here that we'll discuss, and I do have the starter code provided by the CS50X course ready here, and we'll get to that in a minute. We'll just implement the functions. Should be pretty straightforward, pretty easy. So how a runoff election works, basically for the plurality election, the winner was the candidate with the highest number of votes. For a runoff election, the winner needs to have majority, so more than 50% of the votes. And there's also a ranking system involved. So how that works, for example, if we have 5 voters and 3 candidates, so we go through each of the voters, and for each of the voters, we go through each of the candidates and we rank them out. Okay? So the first voter likes Alice best, then Bob and Charlie least, and so on. And how this would be decided, so we will look at the first valid selection. So Alice has 2 votes, Bob has 2, Charlie has 1. So nobody has majority and Alice and Charlie are tied. Alice and Bob, sorry. So Charlie has just 1 vote, so he'll be kicked out, basically. And for this voter, basically their second choice will be activated, so to say. So their second choice was Alice, so that Alice gets another vote, and this means she now has 3, so she has majority, and Bob has only 2, and she's the winner. Okay. And of course, if there's a tie and at the end and there's nobody else to eliminate, basically that's just it. But that's a corner case. So for this voter, their first choice is now invalid because Charlie has been eliminated. So we just look at the second one. Okay. So that's pretty much it. Now let's have a look at how that would be implemented in code. And we'll just quickly go through the starter code provided here. So basic stuff includes standard IO, standard bool. I added standard string, string.h, sorry about that. And here I did have to tweak the code a bit because we don't have the CS50 library. So I'm just using char arrays for strings, and we don't have the helpers like getInt or getString. I'm just using the classic scanf. So here we have 2 constants, max voters and max candidates. Here we have a matrix which gets max voters for the rows and max candidates for the columns. Let's take a moment to discuss that. So here, basically what we want to do is store in a matrix the index from the candidates array of the choice, of the voter's choice, okay? So we will populate the candidates array in the same order as the argument vector. So Alice will have index 0, Bob will have index 1, Charlie will have index 2. Basically, each row here is a voter. So if we have the 5 voters, we have from 0 to 4. We have the rows from 0 to 4. And having 3 candidates, we have 3 columns from 0 to 2. And we will input here the choices, the ranks. For example, for the first voter, if they like, let's go with Charlie. If they like Charlie best, so Charlie's index in the candidates array is 2. So the first voter 0, and their first choice 0, is Charlie, okay? Then let's say they like Alice best, and that's 0, and then let's say it's Bob, of course, and it's 1. Okay, and then for example, let's say the next voter likes Alice best, so that's 0, then Charlie, that's 2, here, and here 1 for Bob, okay? So that's how this will work. I hope that makes sense. So that's the matrix here. Then we will define a structure for our candidates. It will have 3 properties: the name, the votes, and a boolean which says if they're eliminated or not. Then we have an array of type candidate, which takes a max candidate's number of elements. And here we have two more variables, voter count and candidate count. And here will be the the six functions that we will implement. Okay. So if we start looking at the main function, it's pretty straightforward. It starts with a few checks. So we just check that if we have less than 2 arguments, we print out the message about the usage and we break the program. Just so the first argument would be the program, then the second argument would be the first candidate, and so on. So we're just making a small check here. Then we get the candidate count, and that's the argument count -1 because the first argument is the program itself. And here we check for the max candidates, and if we go beyond that, we print out the message and we break the program. Then we populate the candidates array. Here we wait for the candidate count, and we pass in for each candidate's name the arguments from the argument vector. We start from the second one, of course, the first being the program, and then we initialize the votes to 0 and the eliminated property to false because they're all still in the race. So then we get the voters count, and then we check for that as well, of course. And if we go beyond that, we print out the message and we break the program. So this is where we start the actual work. So keep querying for votes. Here, basically, we will run two for loops, an outer loop for the voter count and an inner loop for the candidate count. So for each voter, we will loop for the candidates and get the rankings. Here we will get the name of the candidate, and here we will use the vote function. So if the vote function returns false, we will break the program because the vote is invalid. So to the vote function, we pass 3 arguments, so I, j, and name, and this will be our first function to implement. So let's have a look at it. So here, record preferences if vote is valid. Okay, so here we can start a loop. 0, I is less than candidates count, and the count I plus. Here, for preference if vote is valid, if candidates I name, actually we need string compare here, string compare on here, string compare. Second argument is the name that we receive here, and if this is equal to 0, which means it's true, here we use preferences of voter of rank equals to I. Okay, and we return true. So basically what this does, we go to the position in the matrix of voter and rank, and we pass in the index of the candidate that has a match on the name from the candidates array. Okay, so if we look here where we use the function, so for the first voter, that I is 0, and for the first rank, for the first candidate, j is 0. So we have 0, 0, and the name. So we get those here. So preferences of 0, 0 will be I. Okay, so the index as discussed, this will be here, and so on. Okay, and we return true, or otherwise we return false. Okay, so this is how we will populate our matrix. Okie doke. So I hope that makes sense. Okie doke, moving on. So this is another loop. Keep holding runoffs until the winner exists. And the first function here is tabulate, calculate votes given remaining candidates. So this is our function here. So here basically we will go through the matrix, and for each of the positions where we will find the index of a candidate, and we go to that index in the candidates array, so to that specific candidate, and we increment their votes. Okay, so that's basically it. We will need the two we will need 2 loops here. So just gonna do a bit of copy pasting. So voter count. So the outer loop that looks at the voter count, and then we will have J here, J, the candidate count, and here. So having here non-eliminated candidates, we must check for this. That means that we're checking if they're still valid, if they're still in the race. So if candidates of position preferences I A eliminated false. I'm just going to copy this again. Votes plus plus. Okay, and here we break. Okay, though, so we just run the 2 loops for the voter count and the candidate count, so we can just go through our matrix. Here we check if the candidates, so here we have the candidates array, and the position in the candidates array is the value that we find at preferences of ij. Okay, so if there's 0, it will be the value here. So if their first choice was Charlie, we will have index 2 here, and that will be Charlie in the candidates array. Okay, because we're just passing that value over here. So we're just checking if we have 2 here, so candidates of 2 is eliminated, for example, and then candidates of that index, the same index, votes plus plus if this was false. Okay, so they're still in the game. And then we break because we do want to look through the matrix if the candidate is out. So remember this one, when Charlie was kicked out, basically we moved over Charlie and we found Alice, but after we found Alice, so the first valid selection, we stopped, okay, because we don't want to move on and add any more votes to anybody else. So Alice gets that vote. So that's why we use the break here. Okay, so this should be it. I hope it's good. And so that's our tabulate function. And then we have a bool here that gets the value from the print winner function. So the print winner, print the winner of the election if there is one. Okay, so thinking that we do need majority, I'll have like winner votes, let's say, equals voter count divided by 2. This will not actually be, just 1 second. So let's iterate for our candidates. So here if candidates of I votes is greater than winner votes, we print them out. So the string new line candidates I name, and here return. Okay, oh, semicolon here, sorry about that. So basically what we're doing here, for example, if we have the 5 voters like we have now, and that's an integer, we divide that by 2, we get 2. But here checking if the candidate's votes are greater than 2, basically we will check for 3. So that's okay. We could have just added 1 here and just do greater than or equals, but it's fine. So that's basically it. And if that's the case, we will print out the name and we'll return true. So that's it for the print winner function. So it's the one here, and if this will return true, then we break and we end the program. Okay. Then we have an integer min, which gets the value from the find min. They made last place candidates. So let's go to the find min function. So I hope that it makes sense how things are beginning to work together, and we're just implementing these functions. So find min, return the minimum number of votes any remaining candidates has. So here, least votes, let's say, make an integer, least votes, And let's initialize that with the highest possible number of votes, and we'll just deduct from that. So voter count. Here we will iterate through our candidates. Okie doke. And if candidates of I eliminated, so we're checking if this candidate is still in the race, is still remaining in the race. So if this is false, and not percent, but 10%, and candidates of votes is less than least votes. Let's go to the next row. Least votes equals to candidates I vote. Okay. So whenever we'll go through the values, and whenever we find the smaller value, we'll just pass that into the least values and so on. So after we go through all the candidates, we'll have the least number of votes here. Okay. So that's what we'll return. Least, not east. And this should be for our find min function. So returns the integer. So find min, then we check if there's a tie, and if there is a tie, we print that out and the program stops. This would be like the final tie, and this tie function gets the minimum number. Let's have a look. Is tie, return true if the election is tied between all candidates, false otherwise. So here okie doke. 2, 4. Okay. So we go through the candidates, and if candidates I vote is greater than min, return false, and I'm going to flip this one here and return true. Okay, so what we're doing here, basically we're checking if there's a candidate that has more than so there's clearly a candidate that has the least amount of votes. So if there's somebody that has more than that, then they're clearly not all tied, so that's false, otherwise it's true. Okay, so that's basically it. And after we have this function down, then we have the eliminate function. We eliminate anyone with minimum number of votes, and then we just reset the votes and we start over for another election, another round. So eliminate, which gets min, eliminate the candidate or candidates in last place. So here we go through the candidates. And if candidates I votes equal to min, here grab this over here, eliminated equals true. So we just pass true to the eliminated property of the candidate. Okay, so I hope this makes sense. So again, we had the vote function here, where we just vote and validate, and we pass the values to the matrix. Then we get the number of votes, then we print the winner if there is one, and we stop the program. And then we just find the minimum number of votes, and we check if there's a tie, and we also eliminate anyone with the minimum number of votes. Okay, so we can go on to the next round. That's basically it. We check, this is where we implement the functions. So the vote function, the tabulate function, print winner, find min is tie, and eliminate. And I hope we have everything. So testing time. I hope this will work. PCC runoff, and output that runoff. So it works, so that's good. So let's run our use case here. 5. So bear with me for a few minutes. I hope this will be fast. I'm just going to input these names here, and I hope I won't do a typo because I have to start over. So Alice, Bob, Charlie, Alice, Charlie, Bob, Charlie, Bob, Bob, Charlie, Alice, Bob, Alice, Alice, Charlie, Bob, Alice, Charlie, and then Charlie, Alice, Bob, Charlie, Alice, Bob, and then there's Alice. Okay, so it seems to work, and that should be it for our program. So of course I'll upload the code to GitHub as well, and I hope this was as interesting to you as it was for me, for you as it was for me. And of course, if this was interesting, give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. And I'm looking forward to your comments in the comment section. And yeah, stay safe, and I'll see you around.